Welcome back to another episode of Let's Get Fiscal, where we talk about all things related to budget and finance here in Charles County. Joining us, as always, is Jake Dyer from our Fiscal and Admin Services. Thanks, Jake, for being here.
As always, thanks for having me.
And we also have a special guest today, Mark Thompson, who is our new Chief of Commercial Development for our Economic Development Department. Mark, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
And when I say new, Mark, you've been on the job how long at this point when we're recording? Week 7. So this is great. I appreciate you coming in. And you were actually a really willing, I didn't have to beg, borrow, steal. You came in on your own accord.
Well, that's right. Well, love the opportunity to talk always. So That's why I'm in economic development.
That's awesome. You might be our newest guest that we've ever had. Because usually our staff is really proud to say, I've been here 10 years, 20 years. We have people who've been here 30 years. So to have 7 weeks, this is great. We're bringing you in early. I love it.
Great.
Good. So, Mark, the reason that we wanted to talk with you today is I was listening to Kelly Robertson-Slagle, who's our Director of Economic Development, in a community meeting a couple weeks ago. It was actually our Citizens Academy, which I'll put the link in the show notes, because if you haven't looked into Citizens Academy yet, we definitely want you to check that out. But the line that Kelly uses a lot, which I so value, is the best way to bring revenue into a county without making taxes go up for an individual human, one person, is economic development.
Right.
Talk to me about what that phrase means to you and what it means as a broader definition, please.
Sure, absolutely. Well, when you look at economic development and what we do, it's about jobs. And to create jobs, we go about it a number of different ways. But from a county's fiscal impact, what jobs do is create commercial tax base. You need to have places for people to work. And those places, that commercial tax base, is very important for the county because it offsets the residential tax base, the property taxes that people pay on their homes and those. So to have that proper balance is really important.
And Jake, where does that fit into, if you were going to say, and from a fiscal perspective?
Well, from a fiscal perspective, by having a really strong commercial tax base, it enables us to keep our tax rate the same, right? And it also allows us to properly plan on how the county can grow into the future with revenue projections and so forth. So it helps us know, by having this commercial entity can maybe possibly come into the county, we can plan for that. And then that allows us to maybe fit something into the budget in year 2 or year 3, or plan for, we have, upcoming costs coming up with the school board of the blueprint implementation. We know if we're getting an additional commercial tax base into our coffers, we can plan on using those revenues to support upcoming costs.
Okay, excellent. And I've heard you both mention things about, when we've talked about preparing for this, the idea that a business takes up less resource than a family or an individual. Is that an accurate statement? Or different resource, perhaps, is how I should say that?
Yes, because if it's a residential property, there's possibility of having kids go into the school system, and there's a cost associated with that, because more kids in the school system, that generates a cost to the school board. By having a commercial business in there, you don't have to, that commercial business in itself is not putting a student into the school.
Excellent. Yeah. So, Mark, talk to us a little bit about economic development in Charles County and commercial development. And I love that your perspective is so fresh and new, because sometimes I think we get so into something, you forget what it looks like to the outside. And said with great love and respect, you're still a little bit outside coming in, right?
Sure.
So tell us what economic development in Charles County is looking like right now, and give us the information you want us to know.
Yeah, well, really excited. And I think first, to just take a step back, because it's more than just the tax dollars that commercial development that generates. Jobs are critical, but when you talk about jobs, we like to think deeper than that. Jobs are critical to our community. The Jesuit priest, Father Greg Boyle, has the largest gang intervention program in the country, and what his mantra is, nothing stops a bullet like a job. Job brings us self-worth. They bring us a commitment to community, which is really important. And by that, we can build our families and build our communities, build our county. So we like to, in economic development, that really what gets us out of bed every morning is that commitment. But in Charles County, we've got some great opportunities. what's happening down at the Naval Support Facility at Indian Head with massive growth down there.
Which we would just casually call in, that's the NSF Indian Head, or what we would say the base, right?
The base,
in our county.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
The base.
They've got $2.7 billion being poured into that base right now. And we see that as a great opportunity for what we call the Western Charles County Technology Corridor. That includes Indian Head, Bryan's Road, and the airport. And the commissioners last night just passed some really excellent legislation to enable further growth around the airport area, which we're very excited about. We just kicked off a project on Berry Road, Berry Point. St. John Properties, one of the top developers in Maryland and actually nationally, is going to build what will be the largest flex office and retail project in the county's history there. It's going to create over 2,100 jobs at their build out. So, and some great retail and other services for the community around there. So really exciting.
There's big stuff coming.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
So Jake, when you hear, when I hear those, we all listen with our own schemas and our own backgrounds, right? So when I hear that, I picture like, we've got new people coming in, we've got opportunities, we know what our residents are saying that they're looking for. When you hear that from a financial perspective, what goes through your head when you hear, and I know these are all old news to you,
right.
but what makes it exciting for you?
It makes me exciting because I can now, when I know those things are getting close to happening, like the Berry Point piece, I can now start planning on those additional revenues, which allows me to fit more things into the budget. It allows me to maybe fund more of the school board's requests or the sheriff's office or even county departments, because we know those things are coming down the pike and we can fit those things in the budget. And then we also, not because as he talked about jobs, that also allows other revenues to grow. We have income taxes. So if we're creating jobs in Charles County, potentially the people who have that job may obviously actually live in Charles County and move to Charles County. So there's your income tax base that's also going to grow, as well as any other type of revenues or fees the counties get by them spending their money in Charles County. That allows us to get additional tax revenue.
So anytime, tell me if I'm saying this correctly, anytime money comes into the county, it tends to have more than just that benefit of just the money coming in. It has all of these kind of other little branches that benefit. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
The spinoff is really a very powerful driver. I think the other thing that's important to know too is we've worked really hard in economic development to forge partnerships with the College of Southern Maryland and Charles County Public School System. And they've got some great apprenticeship and training programs that we're partnering with, for instance, the base on. And that's going to enable our children to stay here, to grow up here, to learn here, and then to get a job here and stay here as committed citizens of the county. So we're very excited about that as well.
That's awesome. And Jake, I see you itching. You're going to say something. Say it. It's going to be good. I'm ready.
No, I actually was going to agree with everything you said because
we got a good ditto.
Yeah, just because I'm from the area, and I would tell you most of my friends from high school, majority of them left because there were opportunities elsewhere for them to get jobs. They moved to a city or they moved to a different area, and I get excited by that because I would love for my kids to stay here, so I can spend time with them and so forth. So these are great, exciting opportunities for us.
Yeah. So it really does kind of have this trickle of the money comes in, but then the jobs come in. The jobs come in, which we need people who are trained to have those jobs.
Exactly.
We can train those people young. We can partner with our community college and get that. And then those people live here, which means they are now also part of the tax base in Charles County, right? It just keeps growing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Awesome.
One of the other benefits or assets that we really work hard on, as well as our agricultural sector, huge part of Charles County history. And we actually have a very strong agricultural sector here. And it's really interesting, when you think about it, fundamentally, those are the original entrepreneurs.
Of course,
I mean, they are making stuff. We eat it. And It's great. We foster both, the basic level of agricultural, but also agritourism, value-added agriculture. Those are things that are really pretty exciting and a lot of interesting things coming up in
and
that
Mark, give
arena.
us, I hear those words coming up a lot. Give us the definitions. What is agritourism? What is value-added agriculture? Because we hear those they pop up at the farmer's market. They pop up when people are saying, I think I might want to start a small business. But can you give us a little bit more about
absolutely. Value-added agriculture is if you're growing grapes, then you're making the wine. It's taking the basic food that's being grown and taking it to the next step.
One step further.
So, and there's so many spinoffs, and people get so creative with it. It's really neat. And then agritourism is, and we've got some great examples. Probably one of Maryland's best is Schlegel Farms, where they have all kinds of events. And really the goal is to bring folks who don't work every day toiling on the land, but to get them to understand so many cool things, and especially in the fall, such a great season. So it's really exciting to be able to promote that. And again, brings people from outside the county into the county.
Which brings the revenue and brings the tourism and brings I love it. Wonderful.
And those tax dollars.
That's
right.
Mark, what else do you want our viewers and listeners to pick up on? We've got this opportunity to talk about what you're doing, and I'm so excited you were willing to share. What else do you want to kind of give us? Any other information that you want people to walk away with? Well,
I think, again, we're at a really exciting time with the county. We've got some tremendous opportunities. The Berry Point projects, and there's others that we're working on very hard with the county. The recent purchase of the Sears building, another great opportunity to make something much better than what it was. And so just ask people to, if you've got questions, please, we're always open and willing to work with people in starting up a new business. Okay. In wondering what's going on with this development over here or that development, and be an ambassador for Charles County. The best way we can continue to grow and be successful is to have people shop here. Yeah. Stay local. Enjoy, the great retail that's here. The farms and agritourism businesses, support those local businesses.
That's awesome. And I look forward every year. Every month, I sign up for the Meet Charles County newsletter so that I know what businesses are coming and I know what just opened. So I'll make sure I put the link in the show notes that if people want to sign up for that, because I open your newsletter religiously and I'm like, ooh, good. What's coming? What's new? It's always exciting.
There's always some exciting stuff there. And we have a lot of resources, both on starting businesses and the local economy and what's going on. So we try really hard to, that's another part of our work, is to know everything that's happening in Charles County. So awesome. Please look at us as a resource.
Beautiful. And Jake, if you had one takeaway you wanted people to know from, again, when you put on your budget glasses, as it were, what do you want people to remember as they hear this and watch this?
Well, one thing you would remember is like all the work that Mark in economic development are doing. They're kind of like 2-3 years in advance of when the revenues come. So they do a lot of work to get things started, get things going. And then a couple years later is when we start to see the benefits of that. So that's the one thing with economic development. You got to be kind of patient with the progress they're making, because it takes time. There's a lot of variables that could change the progress they're making, but they're making progress, and it's great. And then it just takes some time to get to that point.
So when we hear that feedback of kind of like, why is that sitting empty, or that started to get built but it didn't stop, or what's the plan? I think the one we hear a lot is like, what's going on with Morgantown, right? That these are not things that happen overnight. These are long-term.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, then I will just keep nagging at both of you to keep informing us of what's going on as it's going on. And that way we can keep the information getting out there. We'll make sure people get signed up for your newsletter and visit the website. And Mark, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to step in today and give this big picture of what economic development is and why in Charles County it really benefits all of us. So,
well, thank you very much. Love the opportunity, and keep up the great work. It's
awesome.
Great.
Thank you.
Mark Thompson, our Chief of Commercial Development with Economic Development Department, will celebrate again when you hit that 1 year mark, right? 7 weeks, and then we'll do a 1 year anniversary.
Perfect. Love to come back.
And Jake Dyer from Fiscal and Admin Services. Jake, thanks for always being here with us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
If you heard terms or there are things that you're not sure of, make sure you check out our other episodes, because a lot of these fiscal and budgeting terms we've thrown out in other ways. And also, I just wanted to throw out there, I'll make sure this gets put in the show notes also, that if when you heard Mark talking about shopping local, if you're one of those people who wanted to talk about what grocery stores come to Charles County and why, we'll add a link to a great episode that our Director of Economic Development, Kelly Robertson-Slagle, did about the grocery stores that come to Charles County, because we know that's a question that a lot of our residents have. In the meantime, we will have more episodes coming out soon, and we look forward to talking with you again. Take care, Charles County. Stay safe. Stay engaged.
Thanks for listening. If you like this podcast and want to hear more, search Charles County Government on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. And be sure to like and subscribe. We're also available on YouTube. Search Charles County Commissioners. And stay connected for all county news, information, and programs by visiting www.charlescountymd.gov/stay connected.